Good morning. It's Driven AF Recovery. We're coming to you on Saturday. Steven, Dennis, and Maddie.
So,
Today we're going to talk about paying the tax, so to speak. And we have something I found on Instagram that spurred this idea with us. And this is something we see working with the people in rehabs on a regular basis. I believe this looks like it's coming from a rehab. It's at the real Chris_Howard on Instagram, but we're gonna
no, it's at real underscore Chris Howard.
Okay,
That's what you
there you
said.
go.
Yeah.
At real_Chris Howard. We're gonna play it so you can hear it because I found it kind of entertaining at the beginning, but he's making a fucking valid point, and that's what we're gonna do the video on this week. So
All right.
here we go.
The irony of what you just said is like I'm fucking
No, wait.
this
So,
guy out of a psych ward from psychosis after dropping a cinder block on your dome piece literally 5 days ago, and at the same time you've only been off Suboxone for like 6 days. Yeah, you're gonna be fucking depressed, bro. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, listen, the doctors, they can give you meds, whatever. At some point when you come off all this though, there's a price that needs to be paid. Yeah, everyone pays the tax, bro. You don't just get to feel better by taking some pill or doing some and there's no price that gets paid. Everything is a trade-off, bro. And right now,
I miss my old life, and this is what it comes down to.
oh, well, your old life is gone.
So that was it. He was talking to somebody that's saying he was depressed, which I'm sure you heard the rest. And I mean, any of us who have been to fucking detox or rehab know this story to some degree or another. And what hit me and what we were talking about before this is you can't not pay the price. You got to pay the tax, so to speak. And I like how he put that. Like, by the time we get to detox and rehab, we have fucking made some problems for ourselves. And at least, I mean, on top of the fact that we are coming off shit, we are going through withdrawal or coming off Suboxone, or like he said, he hit himself in the dome piece with a fucking cinder block. But there's gonna be, you're not gonna feel fucking good, typically. I mean, even confidence wise, like I didn't feel good for a couple weeks in rehab, and I knew I wasn't killing it when I even walked out the door. I was in better shape than when I went in, for sure.
Yeah.
With a better attitude and a little perspective. But point is, like, over time, these things are going to challenge you. And like the guy at the end said, I miss my old life. Well, we're not sure if that's the old drug life or the life before that, but either way, your old life is fucking gone. You got to build a new one. Not saying that there's not going to be things and people still involved from the old one, but you're building a whole new gig. So
yeah, I like how he put that though. Like you just said too. Like everything we've done. Like my addiction was like 15 to 20 year span. Okay. Like just because I removed the fucking drugs doesn't mean like everything's gonna be like fucking peachy and I'm gonna feel great. Like there's a price to pay. Okay. I was drug dependent on heroin, crack, cocaine, pills, alcohol for fucking almost 20 years.
Yeah.
And like to think that you're just gonna take them away and your mood's always gonna be great, your emotions are always gonna be under control, you're always gonna feel physically great every minute of every day is just fucking unrealistic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I mean,
That's
there's
the
pause,
price.
right? Whatever
Yeah,
the fuck
post-acute
that.
withdrawal symptoms.
Thank you, sir.
There's, you know what I mean? Like that's the tax, you know what I mean? And I think that's why we see, and I think that's probably why I left treatment earlier a bunch of times, because it's hard to deal with the emotions, you know what I mean? The depression, whatever, the anxiety, the shit. Once you take the drugs away, you start to feel all this shit. And I think that's kind of the tax he's talking about, the price that you pay, that, you know, it's hard to deal with. And I think that's why I probably left, and we see guys leave treatment early because it becomes overwhelming and they just don't want to deal with it, or they're trying to, you know, scam or maneuver any way around doing anything uncomfortable, any kind of uncomfortable work that kind of comes with those taxes and those prices that we have to pay for all the shit that we've put our bodies and our minds through over our addiction. You know, it's not going to be perfect right away.
I got through some of that in rehab because I didn't want to fucking go to a sober house. I didn't want to do any of the shit that was suggested to me after rehab. The first week or two, probably 2 weeks solid. I was like, fuck all that. But I was still in the mindset like, I'll take the drugs away, everything will be fine. But I actually started paying attention, and I was detoxed enough to fucking realized that I was gonna have to pay for the shit I'd done.
Yeah.
And not just physically and mentally, but the reality of the shit show I had made my life into at that point. That's tough too.
Yeah.
That's part of the fucking tax, man.
Yeah, how many
Like,
times we heard that in group? Like, oh, you know, I have some legal consequences and I'm gonna have to deal with once I get out of treatment. Well, yeah, you know, we did some dumb shit while we were running around getting high and committing crimes and getting drunk. That, yeah, once you get sober, like, that's a tough pill to swallow, to say, hey, I might have to go do some time after this, or I have a court date for something I did. You know, that's,
Or-
again, that could be part of the tax.
I have
too,
no
man.
credit. Or
Right.
I have no, money. I have
no
no
place to
fucking
live.
decent job. No place to live. Yeah, I mean, it's a fucking list of.
Right.
It's real shit.
Yeah, I
These
mean,
are real
you guys,
problems.
You guys have said it in these groups and in these videos before too, that you pretty much left rehab with the clothes on your back, man. And that's a tax that you pay for what the fuck you've been doing for the last years. And you know what? It's work that's gonna have to be done. There's no way around it.
Nope.
Nobody's just gonna hand you a fucking great job, a great credit score, a great mental state, a great emotional state. Like
Or
that's just-
physical.
You're not just gonna wake up and all that shit's gonna be
Everything's
there.
gonna be fine.
You're gonna have to do some uncomfortable work and go through some shit. And like we talked about before this, like sometimes you just have to get through some shit. Hopefully you have a support group and you have the self-awareness or the wherewithal to be able to get through it and realize that you need help and you need to talk to people, you need your meetings, whatever it is you do for your recovery to help you get through it. But sometimes you're just gonna have to pay the fucking price. Like always, you're just gonna have to pay the fucking price. What that means, I think, could be different for everybody.
It's gonna be different.
You know what I mean? But I think in general, like it's probably a lot of similar shit, you know? But I don't know. What do you think?
Oh yeah, you know, like that part of the video where he said he just got a cinder block, you know, smashed over his fucking head.
Was that metaphorically or like?
I don't know. I'm not sure. It could go either way.
When you were talking, like, when you said, like, you know, that first 28 days while in rehab, like, we get all this shit on us at once, like, dealing with our emotions, you know,
I still have trouble.
depression, our anxiety, like, you know, just trying to figure everything out, like, realistically, I mean, yeah, it's like, we're getting hit with all this shit, like a ton of bricks, all at once.
That
like,
might have been better. Like,
Right,
they got
right.
like Tyson, Vander Holyfield, Buster Douglas all beating the shit out of you
yeah,
from a
you know,
different
and you
angle.
got all this shit hitting you at once, and, you know, like, that's where the taxes come in, like, you know, when we left, I left with a bag of clothes, and I went to sober living, you know, because that was part of the price that I had to pay.
Yeah.
You know, I had a home to go to, but because of the choices I made before when I was using, part of those taxes was I couldn't go back to my home.
Yeah.
Because if I did, I knew what was gonna happen. So now I had to go to sober living. You know, I had to be responsible. I had to get a job, a shitty job.
And I mean, I'm gonna give credit because you never really bring this shit up. The way you got to and from the shitty job. I mean, but that's paying the tax, man.
Yeah,
You did.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like riding a fucking bike in the dark,
5 miles every day each way. You know what I
paying the
mean?
tax, man.
Right.
But you didn't quit.
No.
And I think like that's the thing though, like I think a lot of people, myself included, like we don't even realize that like what we're doing is avoiding like trying to pay those taxes. You know what I mean?
I don't
like
think I realize it either.
you know what I mean? Like once you realize that like I need to go to this sober house because of everything I've done, like this is kind of the price you have to pay, like, and you realize that it's the best thing for you and it's what you have to do in order to take the next step and to get where you're trying to go. Like I never looked at it like that back then. I finally was like, all right, like this is what they say I have to do. I said I was gonna do whatever the fuck they say I have to do. Like, you know what I mean? Like fine, I'll go to this fucking sober house. But like once you're there, hopefully you get to the point where you realize like, yeah, this is where I'm supposed to be. This is what I needed to fucking do because of how I've been living. So, you know, hindsight's always 20/20. Looking back, I'm like, yeah, you're right. That was part of the tax or the price that I had to pay for the way I lived. And a lot of things, you know, that I did while I was there were also that. And, you know, that meant, for me, that meant Ubering back and forth to and work. And
Me
you know
too.
what I mean? Like basically
Yeah.
starting off every day negative $70.
Same. I did it too, man.
You know, like, but again, that's a price you had to pay because I didn't have a license or a car because all the dumb shit I'd been doing for years, you know, and keep going to meetings and therapy because mentally I wasn't anywhere near where a 36-year-old man should be at the time. You know, just 36.
I'm still a 46-year-old man. Should be
Oh, and neither am I, but I'm definitely probably nowhere close. I feel like I might be.
a little
like,
better every day, right? I mean,
I
but
feel like
hey.
I started off as like a 17-year-old boy, and I feel like maybe now I'm like mentally at 23 or 24, maybe. That might be being generous.
Yeah. I don't know, I'd probably give you more credit than that, honestly. But, I mean, it's this shit, like, it's still, I don't think it ever is totally gone. Like, you can improve it, but like,
Yeah, of course.
I still don't know how to deal with my emotions right now. More than I ever did before.
Yeah.
Like that, I just had to have a sit down with myself and my phone and my notes. Like, all right, what the fuck? Where do you go right now? What do you gotta do to move forward? What's your biggest problem? And that's it. Reacting to my emotions. I mean, like I put down initially controlling my emotions. That shit ain't gonna happen. I'm gonna have them no matter what. So I realized the wording was wrong. But with my reactions to them, speaking out on shit I know is fucking crazy, which I do too much, like to people close to me, different things like that. I'm like, if I improve this, everything gets better.
Yeah.
Well, that's the new focus. But like, I had one of them fucking real moments. But I mean, that's still paying the tax because I spent fucking 14 years not fucking dealing with any emotion
Right.
or blowing up and fucking getting arrested over them.
That's what, he talks about like depression and shit like that. And I think once we realize that like that's kind of part of the deal, and we're never gonna have complete control over it, but like hopefully we can control it enough from like the crazy highs and crazy lows of anxiety and like severe depression to kind of keep it like somewhere in the middle to where it's like not overwhelming and
You can work with
catastrophic.
it.
Yeah, exactly. Where you can work with it, where you're not like just completely losing your shit and saying fuck it and going, to get high or whatever. Because yeah, like you said, I think it's human nature, especially when you're like an intense human being and you're a very intense human being. And I may not seem like it on the outside, but like my emotions can be very
I
intense
think
and just
we all
keeping
are.
on.
Right. I mean, I don't know. You're one of the most even keel motherfuckers I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, but you had met me before treatment. I was as intense and sporadic as you were.
I can believe you've got it. I don't know, man. You're one of the most even keel people, like logical, smooth thinking people I know in my life.
Right,
It's
but I mean,
weird.
obviously you still have emotions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still have intense emotions, I'm sure, and whatever you've done has worked to, if you were like that before, you obviously have a much better grasp on it now. Like, I'm sure you still have periods where you are near losing your shit, but whatever the things you've done to help you get that under control, you've got it at a manageable level to where it's not fucking catastrophic,
Yeah.
On a regular basis.
Yeah, because
I think
used
that's
to,
the
I mean,
goal.
like, it could be the stupidest little thing that would just fucking throw me off and ruin my whole day. And I don't even know, I can't even really pinpoint what day it was, but it was at ECS.
Probably.
And it was something I heard in group. Doc was running a group about like not holding on to negative shit or letting negative shit impact your life. If it's not going to benefit
And I
you in a
missed that.
positive perspective, then why are you even bothering fucking, giving it two thoughts? Like, what's the point?
Well, I mean, you've taught me a shit ton about this, especially when we lived together, man. Like, really did me a shit ton of good being around you, like, and listening to your logic when I was out of my motherfucking mind, like, on a regular basis, like, seriously. Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of just hit me at ECS when I was in treatment, and from like that day, I was like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, if it's not going to be a positive benefit to me, then I'm not going to waste any time getting upset. But, while we were talking about this, paying the tax shit, I don't know, like it actually never really dawned on me until now. Getting out of treatment and dealing with a lot of this shit, like how it's going to hit you all at once and while you're in treatment. Another thing to think about too is like paying the taxes and having the consequences for the shit that we've done. Like, it's not all going to be short term, like some of the stuff that we deal with on a daily basis. Like, there's still going to be a lot of long-term consequences and taxes to pay. Like, I was just sitting there thinking, listening to you guys talk, like, you guys both know I was a single dad and I lost my son. I lost custody of my son when I went to prison. And for some reason, it just hit me like, as shitty as it is, like, that's tax I had to pay for decisions that I made and things that I did 6 years before he was even born. That it could be 15 years down the road, there may be there may be a consequence for something that you did years prior to you getting sober. And we have to learn to, be able to deal with that shit. Like,
It's just like he said, I don't know what to tell you, bro, and I really, you know, like, some shit, you're just gonna have to deal with it, it's gonna be fucking hard as fuck.
It's gonna
Maybe
be
some of the hardest shit you've ever faced in your life.
Yeah.
You just gotta fucking do it.
Yeah, and that's the thing too, like, you just have to, like we said even before we started, talking on this videos, sometimes you just have to do shit. You just have to get through shit, you just have to get through uncomfortable and difficult shit. And if you can't, like, get to a point where you can deal with life and the taxes and the consequences of things that happen in your addiction and how you are because of how you lived for so long, then odds are you're, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have a very good chance at sustaining recovery, because you have to learn to deal with shit, man. It's gonna be uncomfortable. And I think for me, like, I don't know, in my head, I keep hearing like Corby talk about like doing uncomfortable work. And I think like that was like the most grueling tax for me, was like realizing that like, okay, like this is shit I need to do, you know what I mean? And like, yeah, like you said, there's still like some long-term lingering things that I deal with, you know what I mean? As far as like, with my daughter's mother. Like all that shit that happened while we were together when I ran around and relapsed, things are the way they are now because of that.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm reminded of that every day, and I didn't really think about that until you were just talking about that,
Kind of makes you think now too, like, how many times have we all joked around about like, Jesus Christ, the things I did when I was fucked up, I should be in prison for life.
Yeah, paying
Like,
for it now.
right.
Everything's a trade-off.
And like, you don't know, like 10 years from now, like, we're all doing the right things and life's a lot better. But, like 10 years from now, those conversations we had, joking around like, oh yeah, all that shit I did when I was fucked up, like I should be in prison, might come back to bite us in the ass still. You never know. Like there still could be consequences, much later down the road for something that you did much earlier on.
As long as we're on like this downward, it's sounding rough. Like you still gotta deal with the everyday shit too.
Right, on top of it.
On top of it, but it gets better.
Yeah.
There's the upside. If you can get through this shit, and I mean, like you said, we all said it, I think. There's no hack to this shit. There's no getting around the discomfort. There's no fucking way around it. Like kratom ain't gonna help it. Other
Weed
pills,
ain't gonna help
weed
it.
ain't gonna help.
Yeah.
Like none of this shit is still the fucking crutch that you're trying to avoid paying the motherfucking tax. Like it don't work that way.
Yeah, that's why look, I don't talk about like the way other people do things, but I seen like a commercial or something for some kind of support or recovery thing that talks about like, we meet you where you're at, like, you know what I mean? And basically, to me, like my thought was like, so you basically like want to coddle people and hold their hands and try to let them not go through the uncomfortable part of getting off drugs. You know what I mean? You're gonna go through withdrawals. It's gonna suck. You might puke, you're not gonna sleep, you're gonna feel like shit, but guess
Shit
what?
your brains out.
It's a tax you have to pay for fucking putting heroin or fentanyl, whatever, in your body for so long. There's gonna be physical withdrawals. There's gonna be emotional shit, depression, anxiety while you're in treatment. You're gonna be thinking about getting high. These are all taxes and prices you have to pay. Then when you get out in the sober house, there's gonna be some more. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because you're gonna see it there.
But it's, you know what I mean? Like it's, to me, like it gets easier, you know what I mean? Like, and I just remind myself all the time, like I did one of the hardest things. I got off heroin, you know what I mean? Like I got off fentanyl and heroin. That is probably one of the most uncomfortable things my body's gonna ever go through in my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So in my eyes, like I went through that shit, like I can get through anything. Like don't tell me I can't get through a rough day of emotions.
There's power in
I went
that.
through days sitting in a fucking cinder block, puking my brains out, laying in puddles of sweat, going through crazy withdrawals from methadone and heroin, and I'm alive. I survived. So you know what? Sometimes things suck, sometimes they're not great, but it gets better, like you just said.
And there's
You
power
got
in
through
that.
shit.
You know you can do that. I mean, people ask how do you work them 100-hour weeks. Well, I don't know. I've been through a whole lot of fucking worse.
Right,
That's
right.
Like honestly, like
And I got through it, and man.
yeah. So like honestly, is this that big a deal? No,
Yeah.
not really.
Yeah.
But
I
you
think
can
that
choose to
helps.
look at it that way, or you
Yeah.
can choose to look at it another way.
Yeah. But I think that kind of helps though when you're thinking about like the taxes and the long-term shit. Like, remind yourself like you've been through hell pretty much on earth, and you
Yeah.
made it out to talk about it. You know, so whatever emotional tax or physical tax or price that you're paying going forward, it's probably not going to be anywhere near as bad as the one you already paid and you made it through.
I mean, this isn't even like just in recovery,
general,
man. It's people in general. Everybody wants the easy way to everything. It just doesn't exist. It's work. No matter any way you cut, like if you want to get somewhere, it's gonna take work. And discomfort typically comes with that. So It is what it is.
If there's an easy way out, usually it's because it's, you know, the wrong thing.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like, I mean, I think we've all heard it and probably said it before, like, anything good in life, like, takes work. Anything worth having is gonna take work, and it is, you know, if it comes easy, it's,
Or if it's promised, this in 4 easy steps, guess
Yeah.
what? That shit's bullshit.
lose 30 pounds in 30 days, you know,
Right.
get ripped in 4 weeks.
Wait, that's not real?
Well, that's what I did.
Maybe, but that's what I did. Maddie just started working out last week.
Yeah.
Look at him.
The muscle milk.
Yeah, that's all that. But anyway, I mean, I thought it was pertinent because, you know, it's a reality thing. Some people ain't gonna like to hear it.
Yeah.
And I don't want this video to, like, the people to look at this video and be like, oh my god, like, this is what I have to go through if you, like, just got out or just are.
It's still
You know?
worth it.
Yeah.
It's worth it, man, and it's gonna get easier and it's gonna get better. Like anything, if, you know, you go through something, it gets easier the more you do it, and it gets less uncomfortable, and you become more equipped to handle other shit, you know?
I mean,
because-
certain things, like, I don't really think about getting high anymore. I mean, other than the breaking the neck incident, but beyond that, like, a couple of years, I really don't think about it.
Yeah,
I mean, some things are gonna get easier and then you can put your energy towards other shit.
yeah.
But,
Well, we've already been through the hardest part.
yeah,
That's what I'm saying.
and pretty much anybody that gets to that point, even where that dude was in the video, you've been through the hardest part, so just accept where you're at and go forth.
Yeah.
But,
Well, any closing thoughts on this, guys?
it's worth it, that's all I'm
Yeah.
gonna go with.
Yeah.
Despite everything we just talked about, or it is worth it, so.
Yeah. And like I said, in my opinion, if you got through detox, whether it was for alcohol or benzos or fentanyl or methadone or heroin, if you got through any of that shit, you can get through anything. Don't tell me otherwise.
Is it the truth?
So, well,
Well, as we're wrapping it up for this week, we will be back next week, the three of us for sure, and, you know, if we have a guest, we do, if we don't, we don't, but we are always open to topic ideas, you know, we see a lot of people watch it, we got a decent amount of subscribers, throw up some shit on the comments, or if you see it on Facebook or wherever, if you wanna, you know, if you got an idea of something we could talk about, fucking throw it out there. If you're in the area, you wanna join us, come talk about it with us.
I was just gonna say that, right? If you got a topic that you think is a good one and you wanna join us and talk to us, let us know.
Yeah, we'd love to do it, you know, like, we'll always think of stuff, cause it never ends, but always open to ideas too, cause, you know,
Yeah.
we're just 3 chunky idiots too, so.
Yeah, what do we know?
But anyway, everybody, much love, happy Thanksgiving, a couple days late, pay it forward, you know, do some good, you'll enjoy the feeling you get from that,
Yeah.
so.
See you next week.
Yeah.
See ya.